Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is episode 183. We've gotten this far. It is Monday. Hopefully, all of you have been able to get up, get your caffeination, get in your shower, get whatever the fuck it is that you need, and you made it to work on time. Or you're in the process of going to work. However this morning might be. Or if you're listening to this on the way home, you've completed your duties, your obligations, you've earned your money, and you're on your way home to whoever it is that's going to put happiness in your heart. It could be a person, it could be a pet, it could be, I don't know, mac and cheese. Who the fuck knows? It could be any of it. And then, of course, you're going to have that moment. You're going to wind down. And you're probably going to go crash out, most likely in bed or on the couch watching some kind of YouTube video, or you're probably going to be scrolling through your ticker talkers or your reels or your snappy chats. And you're just going to do that until you become numb and you pass out. And then the alarm will go off, and then we'll do this all over again. And it is just endless fucking cycle that I have talked about before, where it just keeps going. They call it the grind. I call it pain and suffering. Some people enjoy it. I don't. So if you're one of those enjoyers of the quote unquote grind, let me know in the comments how much you enjoy it. Let me know how much you fantasize about Mondays. I will be here irritated that I have to get up at all. It's like, fuck, I do not get it. Why do I have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning? What is the point? I get up at 4:30. I'm in the car by 5:15 a.m. I show up where I'm supposed to be, and then I waste an entire day doing something I'm not a fan of, nor does it interest me that much anymore. Some boredom is involved. And then I go home and yeah. And I go home and I prep for doing it again. And I do it 5 fucking times. The level of commitment. I mean, just it's a thing. And I you know what I should do? Here's what I should do. I should start a GoFundMe, because I guess that's the trend. That's what everybody's interested in. That's what everybody's doing. If you use racial slurs, you can claim that you're being doxxed and chased, so you could literally put a GoFundMe out and make $1 million. You could stab a dude in the bleachers of a stadium, claim racism, GoFundMe page for legal expenses, collecting damn near 800,000. I mean, the trend is it's going. Or you could go on a debate show and and show the world the kind of person you are. Somebody doesn't like it, gets reported, your boss fires you, and then you start a GoFundMe, and all of a sudden you got $50,000. It's an amazing grift. It's an amazing gig. And it's and I don't and I don't I don't I don't I'm not upset about it, but I also am indifferent, if that's the right word. It's weird because we have another one. This is someone in Newberry Springs. This is in California. This is according to the Prime Timer website. Take it for what it's worth. You know, as again, it's yeah, whatever. It's by Ashray BS again. Eh, but I did check the GoFundMe. It is accurate in that sense. So I guess a 17-year-old was jogging and she got mauled by like 16 dogs or some shit. And she was saved by the grace of God, and she only walked away with 500 stitches, uh, a ton of limbs, not looking great. She can barely walk at this. I guess these dogs really did a number on her, and they set up a GoFundMe for medical expenses and mental anguish. And this GoFundMe is already at $35,000. Now, eh, maybe they use it, maybe they don't. I have no idea if they use it for you know medical or whatever. But it seems to be the new thing, and I gotta understand some of this stuff. I mean, it's just crazy to me. It really is crazy to me the amount of people that don't have well don't have any money. It's fascinating. So I'm going to the GoFundMe site and I am going to go to categories. I'm going to do this right now. Let me look up emergence. Let's look up emergency funding here. Um Officer Rose's GoFundMe $500,000 raised. What is this? Um. So let's see. It looks like um it looks like for funeral expenses and whatnot. Um. So that's what that one looks like. Uh, I, I can probably let's go back to emergency real quick. I mean, some of these numbers are just interesting. Like Tucker's wrote a car accident. Like I guess fight for freedom. What is that all about? Oh, I'm not exactly sure what but she needs a lawyer to fight for freedom. I'm guessing. I'm guessing this is a divorce in progress. So she has no money for a divorce. She has 3 kids, and she needs $65,000. She's got 58,000 raised. That is insane to me. That's insane to me. I guess I get. I know I'm gonna. I know if this ever reaches the if this ever gets really high up there, I'm gonna catch heat for the way I what I've said or for the way the whole thing has been presented. Uh, but I just find it interesting. I find it interesting that you could sit here and literally have a cause for anything and put up this GoFundMe, and people would just give you money. I should try it, but I don't know what the scam would be. And I know I'm saying scam, and I know I'm saying other things, and I'm sure 99% of it is true. I'm sure it is. I mean, there's some legal ramifications if it's incorrect, but there just the amounts are set for the issues at hand are a little much, and it's just I just think it's interesting. I just do. Um, let's dive into these stories here. Let's get into these stories now. For those of you that are possibly new, the way this show worked way back then when this was called the Stretch Goose Podcast was essentially I would read and react on the fly to news articles. I didn't really prep anything. And then it just kind of continued to morph into light research. Occasionally there was some kind of preparation. And what I want to do is I want to go back to the beginning. I want to go back to what used to happen, just reacting initially to what I'm saying. And occasionally having, some kind of short, tidbit or whatever. I mean, playing newsreels maybe might be in the cards, but clips in general, I found that that being that you'd have to be literally plugged into social media news wise like 24 hours a day, and you have to have like if something breaks, like you have to like jump up there and get in front of it and all these types of things. And for me, I do not have that kind of time to be up to date. So the goal is to find different types of stories that aren't being widely talked about or read on or whatever, and the idea is to react to those types of things. And that's kind of what I want to come back to. And there's probably going to be some people out there going to be like, well, I can read the news myself. I got Google and all this other weird shit. And yes, you do have that. That's true. You do have that. And good for you. But this is how operate this, and this is how I find it to be interesting and entertaining, possibly to those that are out there. And if you don't like it, then nothing I can do, right? I mean, you're either listening for the obscure story, or you're just not, because it's not current stuff or it's not stuff that's widely reported. So therefore, you have to, um, talk shit about what I'm doing or what have you. Um, so yeah, that's just kind of the crux of it. Then there's also going to be some incoherent rants here and there. And I call them incoherent rants because I'm all over the place when I start to go on when I start to talk about something that upsets me. I tend to go all over the place. And if you find that entertaining, um, then by all means, like it, share it, subscribe to it, things like that. And I as far as I know, um, as far as I know, the statistics of this podcast are pretty decent. I mean, right now I'm approaching about 50,000 downloads total. Over the last 14 months, and I credit I give credit to my brother for that, because he really did push me, because usually I would never advertise this or try to make something out of it. But he really pushed me to do to take it to at least level 0.5, not, instead of just sitting at the bottom of the barrel, just venting into the wind, at least try to turn it into something. So all credit to him, because it's one of his things that he does. Is something he's really enjoys doing. It's a favorite of his. Is he said he will, if he sees a way to make something out of something, he will go for it. And I give credit to him for wanting to at least attempt to push my unmotivated rear end, I guess you could say, into that direction. Um, and it's been interesting. It's been interesting to see these numbers, and I've never had 400. I think it's 450 subscribers. I've never had that, and that's also credit. I credit him for that, for pushing me to go get people to listen. So, um, so so moving on. If you, yeah, most of the podcasters out there will say, like, share, subscribe, call to action, whatever you want to call it, stuff. I will just say this to that is, if you find it interesting and you find it, a thing that you could turn on and get your 4 or 5, wow, I didn't know that was happening story, then by all means subscribe to the show. By all means like the show. By all means share it with your friends if you think they'll enjoy learning about what other things are happening out there. Because you can turn on any of this other stuff, you know, Fox, CNN. You can turn all that. You can find that anywhere. You want to learn about Donald Trump going to Alaska. Just at the time of this recording was what, yesterday, I guess. If you could go out there and you can learn that Donald Trump came out of Alaska saying nothing happened, and one of Putin's fucking weirdos came out with a T-shirt with the Russian logos on it and trying to troll Donald Trump. I mean, you can learn about that anywhere. There's a lot of dedicated people in this news commentary space that really are, you know, in tuned into that stuff. There's a bunch of them out there, and you know who they are, right? Whether conservative or liberal, you know exactly who they are, and you know where to find these guys, and if that's your cup of tea, knock it out. If this is an addition to, is what's kind of the goal here. Yes, these guys are talking about all this weird stuff, and they have all these interesting takes on it. But there's also this, Hopefully, I'm in that list of this extra thing. So, having said all that, let's see what these next 4 headlines will do for you. This is from the Washington Post, and I'm gonna read each of these articles for the most part. In the future, I'll try to summarize them a little bit more. And yes, I do use Copilot, and I do use Google Gemini to summarize articles and to go through some research if I do look into something. And a lot of that is really based on being a one-man show, and this is kind of my research assistant, so to speak. And it just kind of goes a little quicker, as opposed to me, really just reading every one of them, because you guys can do that. So, but today we for this episode, this Monday, we will read some of this stuff. We'll get into it. So this is the Washington Post. This is a headline that says Alvaro Uribe, Colombia's former president, is guilty on bribery. This was in Colombia. He is one of the most influential and controversial leaders in Colombian history, was found guilty of bribery in criminal proceedings as well as procedural fraud, whatever that is, on Monday in a witness tampering scandal, becoming the country's first former president convicted in a criminal trial. The 73-year-old former president who led Colombia from 2002 to 2010 was credited with turning the tide of his country's 52-year civil war against insurgents. Wow. I see. This is what I'm talking about, guys. You learn things. I didn't know personally. I didn't know Colombia was in a 52-year civil war during his presidency. That is insane. How long do you guys need to fight over the country? You know, it's like that's. I mean, at some point, weapons down. He continued to wield outsized power as a senator and politician long after leaving office, but critics have long accused Uribe of ties to the country's right-wing paramilitary group, which he consistently denies. In 2012, he accused a fellow senator, Ivan Cepeda, of bribing witnesses in a conspiracy to connect Uribe to paramilitaries. But in 2018, the Supreme Court dismissed the case against Cepeda and instead began investigating whether Uribe had been manipulating witnesses in the case in obstruction of justice. Prosecutors under previous presidential administrations unsuccessfully requested to close the case against him, and last year, Colombia's Attorney General charged him with witness bribery and procedural fraud. They also accused him of sending his lawyer to persuade and bribe a former paramilitary member to alter testimony in his favor and deny that the former president had connections to the group. Man, there's some corruption that going on in Colombia. So these guys are just running around and trying to pay people off before the trial, and it obviously didn't work out because he got found guilty. But not exactly sure what the actual sentencing is. Okay. Well, the sentencing is to be determined. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. Because it's 2002. The country was on the verge of collapse. The largest leftist rebel group, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, also known as FARC, F-A-R-C, FARC, was terrorizing the country with violence and kidnappings. By the time he left office, the group's size had been cut in half, and kidnappings and homicides plummeted. He also counted on the crucial support of the United States, providing millions of dollars in aid along with training and equipment. So from 2002 to 2009, the United States was backing his government during this civil war. And George Bush gave him the Medal of Freedom, the highest honor in the United States. So Monday, the verdict was Monday. Secretary of State Rubio posted this on social media. Former Colombian President Uribe's only crime has been to tirelessly fight and defend his homeland. The weaponization of Colombia's judicial branch by radical judges has now set a worrisome precedent. Republican lawmakers also publicly backed Uribe. Representative Mario Diaz of Florida claimed without evidence that the trial was a witch hunt and against Uribe, and blamed the political left along with current president Gustavo Petro. I don't know about that bullshit. I mean, why again, if you're writing these articles, why do you guys sit there and go, can you just say that he claimed that it's a witch hunt? I mean, we all pretty much know there's no evidence there. And that's something that just drives me nuts when as you'll learn as I read these things or skim through these things, I also will critique what I'm reading. Like to me anyway. If these are my personal opinions on it. These news writers, they do things that just don't need to be done. Like I don't really need without evidence. I get it. A witch hunt is a wild claim. It has no basis in reality. Obviously, there'd be almost no evidence. Over 70% of the time. So but then there's that 30% that'll be like, well, you got to say that because if you don't, everybody's going to assume. And it's like if you read that Mario Diaz claimed that the trial was a witch hunt against him and blamed the political left aligned with President Gustavo Petro, wouldn't that be enough? Let me know in the comments if that would be enough to get you to understand that it's a claim without evidence. I mean, to me, it is anyway. Moving on to the Wall Street Journal. A criminal enterprise is being run by monkeys. All right, guys. In Indonesia, a cliffside temple on the tropical island of Bali, an unexpected group of criminals is running one of the world's most sophisticated scam operations. Every week, they steal dozens of phones, wallets, and other valuables from tourists in broad daylight and exchange them for handsome rewards. It's been going on for decades, and nobody's been able to stop it. The culprits are long-tailed macaques, some kind of a monkey. The monkeys have taken over the temple, said Jonathan Ham, a tourist from London whose sunglasses were stolen by the monkeys during a visit last year. They are running a scam. On the southern tip of the Indonesian vacations hotspot, known for its beaches, tourism, and such, they also have the Uluwatu Temple for traditional fire dance shows and panoramic views of the sunset with the Indian Ocean crashing below. The Balinese Hindu site dates back to the 11th century, and roughly 600 monkeys that inhabit it are considered by locals to be scared guardians of the temple. Primate researchers have found that these monkeys steal belongings to use as currency to trade with humans for food. Some monkeys can distinguish between objects we highly value: smartphones, glasses, wallets, hats, flippy flops, hair clips, etc., and will barter accordingly. According to the University of Lethbridge, that spent years filming these things and analyzing hundreds of hours of footage. In other words, the monkeys have unprecedented economic decision-making processes. See, that's a scientist going, "Oh my God, they're really smart." It's like, well, yeah, it kind of looks like that. They're stealing shit and selling it back to you. I mean, their view of cash is like a bucket of bread or something. But imagine just anybody, like I walk over there and I see the cell phone stolen, and the monkey brings back the cell phone. It's not my cell phone, but he brings back a cell phone. I give him a loaf of bread. He gives me the cell phone, and then all of a sudden I got somebody else's shit, and I can make phone calls and run the bill up. I don't know how they determine who's what, or like I don't that part. I'm not sure. Um, it's Oh wow, the way they took that dude's glasses in this picture are hilarious. They just took their foot and just jacked it, and they fucking ran off with it. Oh man. When Ham arrived to the temple with his wife, the tour guide hands him a stick, saying he would need it to fend off the monkeys. "What do you mean?" he says. "I thought he was giving me a stick because he thought I was too old. The stick was no use." While he was admiring a vista, the monkey jumped on his back, snatched his favorite sunglasses off his face, and vanished. Wow, he just fucking jumped up there and jacked him. He found it in a tree playing with his sunglasses. A different tour guide handed him some Oreo cookies because fucking monkeys like Oreos. And he waved the cookies at the thief. It jumped up, grabbed the cookie, tossed the sunglasses and took off. I didn't expect that the monkeys would be operating like a gang, taking everything. It was like you have you ever seen Oliver Twist? Yes, yes. Let me know in the comments. Does this fucking article line up with Oliver Twist? I don't think it does. Let me know if it does. Let's go on to the USA Today. Tarantulas are coming soon to these states. Hordes of them, they say. Hordes of them. If you're hiking or camping in southwest and west, southwest and west in the next few months, get ready for what could be an experience of fright of a lifetime. Across the United States in California, Colorado, Kansas, New Mexico, and Texas, tens of thousands of tarantulas will be crawling out of their burrows in search of females, making for a fascinating, if a little creepy, display of nature. If you're lucky enough, you can sometimes see them in hordes crossing the roads at a certain time of the year. Said Dan McCamish, a environmentalist scientist in California State Park. His advice is not to touch them. No shit, I ain't touching fucking a horde of those things. It's a wild animal. It doesn't want to be picked up and loved and hugged. In general, the species is very docile, but if you were handling them, they could bite you and or kill you. So look out, California, for that. We're going to get some tarantulas in the park, just crawling all over the place, looking for unsuspecting female tarantulas so they can have kids and stuff. CBS News. A train actually derailed in Germany. Okay, guys, 3 people have died, dozens have been injured. It happened in Berlin. And this is a regional express train derailed in, oh my gosh, German words have way too many T's, way too many U's. I don't know. Württemberg, Baden-Württemberg in southern Germany. The derailment occurred between Sigmaringen and Ulm in a forest area. 100 passengers on board. Half of them have been injured. 3 of them have died. Authorities suspect a landslide triggered by torrential rain caused the derailment. A hole near the tracks filled with water, leading to a slope collapse. The train hit mud and debris on the track, causing 2 carriages to topple down on to the embankment. 3 people passed away, 41 injured, some seriously. They were transported. Officials are analyzing what happened on the onboard data recorder. No signs of foul play. Nobody was drunk and said, "I'll hook a left." They were just driving along and shit went down. And that is how that goes. Also, Chancellor Friedrich Merz and Dutch Bank. I cannot say these words. These German words are insane. Expressed their condolences and pledged support to rescue in blah, blah. Okay. That is kind of it, guys. That is the episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being a part of it. And I will see you on the next one. Later.